Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is the kickoff program for our WestFest 2021 event, and we're happy that you were able to join us on this Monday morning. My name's Courtney, and I'm going to be behind the scenes today, making sure everything runs smoothly. I have a couple of announcements that I want to make before we get started. So WestFest is Ohio State University's annual celebration of science, engineering, sustainability, and outreach. This program is made possible thanks to funding from the Ohio State Energy Partners. As I mentioned, my name's Courtney, and as we're going through the programs today and throughout the week, if you decide to share about us on social media, please use the hashtag OSU WestFest. We want to make sure that everyone has the best experience possible, and we're thankful to be able to offer captioning today, which you can turn on or off based on your needs. In order to not interfere with our captioning, however, we had to turn off the chat function within the webinar. So we're going to be using the Q&A to interact with you, and we encourage you to interact with us. So if you have questions or thoughts or comments as we're going through the program, please feel free to add those to the Q&A. We will have a couple of different times in this morning's program where we'll pause for questions, and we'll have some time at the end for a little bit of discussion. For those of you who are following along with the whole week, don't forget we have a digital passport that you can download from our website, and I'll put that link into the Q&A. And if you're doing the digital passport, you attend programs, complete challenges, and then upload your completed passport for a chance to win WestFest prizes. And we'll make those drawings after the program ends. So without further ado, today's morning program is Where Your Waste Goes When It Leaves the Curb, and is being presented by Amy Dinsborn from the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Amy.
Thank you, Courtney. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. We're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into the waste stream here in Franklin County. We're going to learn what each one of us can do to make a difference for the environment by reducing, reusing, recycling, and composting every day. So let's go ahead and get started. So what can you do to help create less waste that goes to a landfill? Try to look for ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle in your daily life. Some great ways that you can help the planet are to find ways to make less stuff that ends up in a landfill. So when we place items in the trash can, they don't magically disappear. When we say, where does the waste go when it leaves your curb? Because it goes somewhere else, doesn't it? Doesn't just go away though. And so when we talk about landfills, we talk about how they're this highly engineered place that holds all of our wasted materials. And a lot of stuff that ends up in that landfill, it could have been recycled or composted instead. So the very first thing you can do, and I can do this too, we can all do this, is to reduce the amount of stuff that we buy. Ask yourself this question: is there a way to avoid buying this new item? Buying less stuff and using less stuff has the greatest impact on the planet because it creates zero waste and uses zero resources. The next thing you can do is to help protect the planet is to reuse your stuff as much as possible. So for example, here on my slide, I have a milk jug that has been turned into a feeder for a bird, or maybe you could turn an old tire into a planter for some flowers. Also common ways that we reuse things daily is, does anybody use a reusable water bottle when they go to school or when they go to work? How about a reusable lunchbox? These are all great examples of how we can reuse stuff to create very little waste. And then finally, my friends, if we cannot find a creative way to reduce or reuse, we can recycle some of our waste. Now remember, just some of it, not all of it. So some things like everything that you see on the left side of this slide, this is everything under the blue under recycle. We can do 5 material types. You can do paper and cardboard. If I have any friends who shop on Amazon Prime, make sure to get those boxes in the recycling bin. Plastic bottles, jugs, and tubs. Glass bottles and jars. Metal cans. Carton containers. And when we recycle, we want to keep everything loose in the recycling bin. We want to make sure our recyclables are free and they can breathe, okay? Plastic bags are not, no, accepted in the recycling bin in our community here in Franklin County. Instead, plastic bags can go back to the grocery store for recycling. So places like Giant Eagle, Target, Walmart, Meijer, Kroger, all of those places, you can take your bags and they'll recycle them for you. Some of the other commonly not accepted materials that we see a lot of in the recycling bins in our community, plastic food containers and foam containers. So neither one of those are accepted in the program. Tanglers, so things that like hoses, wires, or electronics, those are also not accepted. Plastic bags, we just went over that, right? Those are a no-no, but you can recycle them at the grocery store. And then cups at this point in time, whether it's a coffee cup, a party cup, or a fast food cup, those are not accepted. So each one of you can make a difference by putting these 5 material types over here in your recycling bin and recycling right. So when you do recycle your materials, they are given new life as a new product. So for example, classroom school paper will go on to become facial tissue, and our plastic bottles and jugs will go on to become carpets and picnic benches. So why do we want to limit the amount of trash that we throw away? Well, once our materials go in the trash can, they cannot be recovered and made into something new. And we throw a lot of stuff away in Franklin County that had the potential to be recycled or composted. 76% of it, in fact, of all the materials that we receive at the Franklin County landfill, it really doesn't belong there. It could have been recovered and turned into something beneficial for the planet. The top 2 types of materials that we receive at our community's landfill, the number 1 material is food waste at 15% of the total waste stream. That's equal to about 1 million pounds of material that we receive daily at the landfill. The second highest type of material we receive is cardboard boxes. So if you remember earlier, we talked about helping break down those boxes from Amazon Prime to make sure that they can go on to become future cardboard boxes for online shipments. So there's a high level of engineering that goes into creating a sanitary landfill. It's really much more sophisticated than just a hole in the ground. And we're going to talk the rest of this morning about this hole in the ground and how sophisticated it is. So landfills are designed in a way to protect public health and the local environment. This is a picture of what a cell looks like. This is how landfills are designed in smaller stages called cells. So we have a total of 14 cells in the landfill right now, and we build each cell. Takes about 1 to 2 years to build one cell. A cell is an area for materials to be landfill. You first have to dig out the soil 40 feet deep to make room for the trash to go deep into the earth. And then you place protective liners or barriers on the sides and the bottom of the cell. What this does is this ensures that the trash never comes into contact with the soil or the groundwater. And we're going to talk about those different liners in the virtual tour that we're going to watch here in a minute. At the bottom of each cell, we have these white pipes. They have holes inside of them. These holes collect all of the garbage juice or leachate, which is created when the rainwater mixes with the trash. That garbage juice is collected in those pipes and it's sent underground to the wastewater treatment plant to be cleaned up and placed back into our rivers and streams. So, and we talked about before, a lot of the material that makes its way to the landfill, which remember, doesn't just go away, it just sits there forever and ever. 76% of it could have been recycled or composted. And we're going to get to see some of those materials with our own eyes here in the video in a few minutes when we watch that. So now it's time for us to take a journey into the waste stream and learn more about how a sanitary landfill is designed to protect public health and the local environment. Courtney, I'll let you take it over to the video, unless we have a question that has come through.
We do have a question. I tried to provide a link to answer it, but I wanted to see if you had anything else available. And also you can share the video from your screen as well. The question was, an individual was saying that their apartment complex does not have recycling, and what should their family do? And I did put the link to SWACO's recycling drop-off webpage into the Q&A, but I wondered if you had anything else to add to that.
Yeah, so that's great, Courtney. Thank you for doing that. So we have 52 public recycling drop-off locations all around the community. Those are for anyone to use, people who don't have access to recycling, like if you live in an apartment, small businesses. That is the first step to getting your materials to be recycled is take them to one of those drop-offs. Go to recycleright.org. Type in your zip code and the closest location will pop up to you. Also, I would encourage you to reach out to your property manager and let them know that you're interested in having recycling on site. Maybe there is a way that you could get a petition going, talk to your neighbors, talk to the folks that live with you in your apartment complex to see if anyone else would have an interest. And if you're a property manager or your landlord is interested in it, you can have them reach out to us at SWACO and we'll help point them in the right direction of getting a recycling contract established.
That's great. That's a good support to have in the community. We had a follow-up question to that, and it was about composting and that the apartment complex forbids composting outdoors. And so did you have any advice for that situation?
Yeah, so we are hearing about apartment complexes not allowing composting outdoors. So there's vermicomposting, the act of composting with worms, which is an apartment-friendly, indoor-friendly way of composting. If you're interested in that, so you can order red wiggler worms on Amazon for get 1,000 of them. That's about £1, and get a black dark tote. Put some holes in the top of it so they have some air. And some bedding, some shredded newspaper. They can eat up to 3.5 pounds of food a week, which if you're it's just you in your house, you don't have like a big family, you don't generate a lot of food scraps, that might be a good option for you. The other option, there are several collection services out there. One is called Compost Exchange. I'd look into that one. They give you a 5-gallon bucket and you bring it back to the local farmer's market. There's another company called Kids That Compost, and it's $5 a week. Same concept. It's a bucket, and they pick it up at your doorstep every week. So I don't know if you'll be able to participate in that if your apartments won't let you compost outside, but they do pick it up at your door. So those are two options I would encourage you to check out.
Okay, great. I think that gets us caught up on the Q&A for now.
Great. So Courtney, can you see my screen okay?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. And then hopefully we have the audio on.
Did you select the maximize for audio when you went to screen share?
I didn't. So let's stop the video. No. You can't hear that, right?
No. You want to unshare and then reshare. There'll be a box at the bottom of like the sharing option.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're still adjusting to our Zoom world.
All right, my friends. So this is a virtual tour of the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill. So this is the one municipal solid waste facility that takes all of the waste that's generated by the 41 million residents in Franklin County and the businesses. So everybody and all of the waste that's generated in Franklin County goes to this landfill. It was opened in 1985. It has approximately 45 years of life left before it will be at capacity. Now, if we remember our presentation before, the more we reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost, the less waste needs to end up in this landfill, and we can extend the life of this landfill even longer than the 45-year life expectancy. I'm going to go ahead and start the video. Hopefully you can hear it. Courtney, let me know if you can't.
Hello everyone, my name is Amy Densborn. I'm SWACO's education specialist. Today we're going to be taking an inside peek at what happens with the daily operations at the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill. Remember, if we don't find a way to reduce, reuse, or recycle our materials, they end up in a trash can and then are picked up by a truck and brought to this landfill for final disposal. Landfills are highly engineered systems that are managed to protect the environment and the local community. This landfill accepts all the waste generated at our houses and businesses in Franklin County. Upon entering the landfill, every single truck must go through what we call a scale house. Think of this like a really big bathroom scale, big enough to hold a trash truck. Each truck is weighed on the way into the landfill and given a receipt that details how much their vehicle weighs with trash.
Franklin County?
Yes?
Do you have any tires, liquids, paint, appliances, or yard waste?
No, ma'am.
Will you be paying with a credit card today?
Yes.
All right, I need to scan your ID.
Then after they have dumped their trash, they have to get weighed one more time on the way out. The difference between the two weights is how much trash they left at the landfill and tells SWACO how much they need to pay. All Franklin County residents are charged $39.75 per ton. There's 2,000 pounds in a ton. To prevent blowing litter from escaping the landfill, we have a 30-foot fences installed all around the perimeter of this landfill. On super windy days, the blown litter will be caught on the fence and can be retrieved before blowing onto the highway or our neighboring properties. Do you see the mist coming out of the fence? To help minimize odors and be a good neighbor, we have an odor neutralizing system to help absorb the smell of the trash. I like to call this mist landfill perfume, since it smells like strawberry kiwi. Along the slopes of the landfill, there are drainage channels or chutes that help to direct the flow of water from rainfall and snowmelt down into our sedimentation ponds. These ponds store the runoff water, and we reuse the water to spray the roads to prevent dust pollution. As you can see, the roads here in the landfill aren't your typical roads that you drive on in the city. They are made from gravel, and during the summer months when we don't get very much rainfall, the roads can get very dusty. To help control the dust, a water tanker sprays the roads with water that is taken from the sedimentation ponds. Even in the landfill, we try to reuse and recycle as much as we can to save our resources. These are our groundwater monitoring wells. We have 45 of these all around the perimeter of the landfill. Each one of these wells goes deep down into the earth, and they're tested on a monthly basis to ensure there are no contaminants or pollutants in our groundwater. Landfills are designed in stages that we call cells. To build a cell, we first must dig out or excavate the soil. We dig out the soil to make room for the trash to go deep into the ground. Excavating a cell can take several months, but all the soil will be reused right here at the landfill to cover the trash. After the cell has been excavated, we then bring in soil that is impermeable, meaning that liquids cannot pass through. And we compact that bottom clay liner. The next step is to place plastic liners in the cell covering the bottom and sides to protect the soil and groundwater. These plastic liners must be welded together to ensure nothing can pass through them. On top of the plastic liner, we install pipes that will collect all the garbage juice or leachate. That is created when the trash mixes with rainwater. A series of underground pipes captures all this liquid and sends it to the wastewater treatment plant, where it is cleaned to remove any pollutants and then released into the Scioto River. A cell can range in size from 10 acres all the way up to 32 acres. To give you a size reference, 1 acre is equal to 1 football field. The entire landfill is about 283 acres. So how many football fields big is that? You got it, about 283 football fields. I'm standing next to one of our gas collection pipes. We have over 270 of these pipes all on the top of the landfill. These pipes have the important job of collecting the methane gas as the trash starts to decompose or break down. Methane gas is a powerful greenhouse gas, really effective at trapping heat and warming up the planet. This gas cannot be released into the air or into the atmosphere. So instead, we capture it and we send it to our energy facility, where it is cleaned up and turned into pipeline quality natural gas. SWACO works with a private company who converts methane into renewable energy called natural gas that helps to power our homes and businesses in the community. In fact, the natural gas generated from this landfill provides energy to over 5,000 homes every day. If the methane can't be captured, it is instead sent to the flare to be burnt off safely. One of my favorite machines in the landfill is called the earth mover. The job of the earth mover is to move around dirt back and forth so we can use it as cover for the trash. And now we've reached the part of the landfill where the trash is dumped by all the trucks. This is called the working face, and it's a small area compared to the size of the rest of the landfill. It's designed this way to contain the trash and prevent it from blowing around while containing the smell. The working face moves every couple weeks as the cell fills in. There are a couple big machines that are actively moving around the trash. One machine is called a bulldozer, and it has the job of gathering the trash from the truck and moving it over to his friend driving the compactor. The compactor is the machine with the spikes on the tires. Those spikes have the important function of smashing or compacting the trash to help save space in our landfill. This ensures we get the most trash in the smallest space possible.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a heavy equipment operator. This is a compactor 836. It weighs 120,000 pounds. It's equal to 6 school buses, the weight of 6 school buses. One of my favorite things about running this machine is you're traveling back and forth smashing trash. Then comes along a boat, you get to run over the boat and smash it into the ground. Alright, so the reason why I like working at SWACO is because I like working with the heavy equipment, and I like working with my coworkers every day.
SWACO also operates 2 transfer stations, one on the north side of Columbus and one on the south side. A transfer station is a temporary holding facility for waste. This helps save trash truck drivers time and money so they can get back on their routes picking up more trash in our neighborhoods. Then a SWACO employee drives the trash in a semi-truck to be disposed of at the landfill. Each one of those semi-trucks goes into the tipper. A tipper is a large platform designed to hold an entire semi-trailer, holding about 20 tons of trash. As you can see, the tipper lifts up and trash falls out of the back of the truck. We receive about 50 of these tipper trucks every day and about 500 trucks a day.
Been working with SWACO for 27 years. Started as a laborer, then a weighmaster, and then driving the truck. I've been driving the truck for 18 years. I enjoy the open road and being by yourself on the job. Well, the growing city, many houses being built, apartments all the time. There's always going to be trash generated. There's always going to be the need to haul trash.
As we've been watching trash trucks come in and dumping their materials, have you noticed a lot of it could have been reused, recycled, or composted? In fact, 76% of what this landfill receives doesn't belong here. It could have been recovered and turned into something beneficial for the planet. Food scraps and cardboard are the top two types of materials that are thrown away at our landfill. The more we recycle and compost, the less land space we need for landfills. Each one of you can make a difference by reducing, reusing, and recycling right every single day. Every single night, all the waste must be covered up. Covering the waste helps to reduce odors and prevent wildlife from getting into the trash. We use a couple different methods for covering the trash. The first method is with a really big tarp. This is a 150 foot by 150 foot tarp that goes right on top of the trash at nighttime. The second method is we can use dirt or soil to cover up the trash. Remember when we took all that soil when we were excavating a cell? Well, we're gonna reuse that as nightly cover on the top of the trash. And then the third method is what we call auto shredder residue, or ASR. This is what happens when you take your car to the junkyard. We can rip out the inside compartments of your car. So things like your seats and your dashboards and the ceiling. All of those materials can be repurposed and mulched up to make for covering at the landfill. This helps save limited resources like soil and allows us the opportunity to reuse the material that has already been produced. Even after the landfill is closed, it is closely monitored for at least 30 years to ensure it's safe. Sometimes closed landfills have been turned into green spaces like parks and playgrounds. The old landfill in Franklin County was turned into a golf course, and now it's going to become a solar array. That takes sunshine and stores it as energy so we can create electricity for our houses. Whether we turn this landfill into a recreational facility someday, you can be sure SWACO will continue to be a good neighbor and a responsible steward of the land and air for many years after this landfill is closed.
All right. So as I mentioned before, the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill has roughly 45 years of life left before it reaches its capacity. We hope it lasts even longer as we all continue to make a difference by reducing the amount of waste we create, recycling more of it, and composting our food scraps. The average Franklin County resident produces about 9 pounds of trash per day. Half of that makes its way to either be recycled or composted. The other half makes its way to our landfills. That's about 4.5 pounds per person per day. The landfill receives just over 1.1 million tons of materials annually. So I'll pause there and I'll open it up to questions from the audience, Courtney.
Yeah, we have two, and I think that we touched upon, or the video touched upon them, but I'm just going to say them in case there's things to add. The first was, how does saving the earth, so how does, making good choices that way help the landfill?
So when we recycle and compost our materials, we are conserving resources. So everything, this paper that I'm using right now, it's made out of a natural resource. It's made from trees. And so by recycling our material, our paper, we can conserve that natural resource of the tree. Where we use trees for all sorts of things, right? We need trees as humans to have clean air and to breathe. We need them for shade, for keeping us cool on a hot summer day. They store carbon dioxide, which is really important too for climate change. Also, think of all the animals that live in trees, the birds, the squirrels. Trees are really, really important for a healthy ecosystem. And so when we conserve resources, we can conserve those resources for future generations.
And then since we're coming up on time, I'm gonna make this the last question for now. And it's, what happens when the cells fill up? Is there any way to repurpose the land?
That's an excellent question. So when a cell fills up, we place dirt on the top of it, and we then place grass, or put seed down to have grass. And you saw in the video that we were able to turn the old landfill into a golf course. The golf course has since closed in the 90s, I believe, and now it's going to become a solar field. So we're going to be putting solar panels on top of it next year. That's going to capture the sun's energy, and then we'll be able to use as a renewable source of energy to power our homes and businesses here in Columbus. That's one way you can repurpose a landfill. Other landfills have been turned into sledding hills, parks, playgrounds, and even drive-in movie theaters.
That's awesome. I would love to have another drive-in movie theater nearby. Well, thank you, Amy, so much for today's program. And I just want to let the audience know that as you were listening today, if you were thinking, man, so-and-so would love this program, Amy is kind enough that she's going to do a second version of this program on Saturday, I believe at 11 o'clock again. And you can register for that anytime. As we're wrapping up, I just want to remind you, we have 24 other programs live this week that are open for viewing. So don't hesitate to sign up for those. We're going to continue through Saturday, October 16th. You can register at go.osu.edu/WestFest. And if you have any questions at any point this week, feel free to email the WestFest team. We are at westfest@osu.edu. So thank you so much for attending and enjoy the rest of your day.